How's it going, everybody? It's Warren, and welcome to this week's episode of Theory Thursdays, my segment where each week you all submit your theories and I choose 5 to go over each week, and you all vote on which one you thought was your favorite, and then at the end of the month you all vote on which one you thought was the overall best for the month. The winner gets the monthly prize, which right now is 2 IMAX tickets, so you can go see Spider-Man Far From Home in IMAX or go rewatch Avengers Endgame, which if you have not heard, they are doing a re-release with 7 minutes of new footage, including a post-credit scene and a tribute to Stan Lee at the end. So if you would like to submit your own theory for a chance to be on an episode of Theory Thursday, you can find the email to send it to and the instructions in the description down below. Big shout out to Alfredo Moscoso for being the winner of Theory Thursday for the month of May. Alfredo won the month of May with his theory about the multiverse collision and the battle world. And congrats to Andrew Molyneux for being last week's winner of Theory Thursday with his Spider-Man Far From Home theory. Congrats, Andrew, you are now eligible to win the monthly prize. Also, if you're interested in other theories that aren't related to Marvel, such as Star Wars, DC, Star Trek, etc., you can check out my other channel, Cosmic Culture. Alright, let's dive into some theories. We have some really good ones this week. The first theory comes from Kriston Ondell with a YouTube channel named Chris the Artist. And Kriston has a theory about how the Fantastic Four will be introduced into the MCU. Kriston says that the Fantastic Four are from the future, 2025, and some of Tony Stark's inheritance when he died went towards Reed Richard and his wife, who are both scientists/explorers. They use some of Tony's technology and equipment to explore the quantum realm, and they end up getting trapped in there for a very long time. While they're stuck in the quantum realm, they end up evolving, and the evolution is what ends up giving them their powers, just like Janet Van Dyne in Ant-Man and the Wasp. However, they have no way to get out of the quantum realm, so they just stay there with their powers. They use their powers for good, make a home there, and become somewhat of a quantum realm Avengers, the Fantastic Four. And the city that we saw in Ant-Man and the Wasp in the quantum realm is actually the Baxter Building. And then in Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, or the post-credit scene for Ant-Man and the Wasp, they could introduce the Fantastic Four and get them out of the quantum realm. This is a really good theory because in the comics, the Fantastic Four are directly connected with the quantum realm. And of course, in the MCU, Ant-Man and the Wasp and Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne are also directly connected with the quantum realm, obviously. But also, something you have to keep in mind is the director for Ant-Man and the Wasp, Peyton Reed. He is a huge Fantastic Four fan. In fact, he pitched a script to Fox for the Fantastic Four when Fox still owned the rights to them. Now, fortunately for us, Fox wasn't really interested at the time, which means that we could potentially get Peyton Reed's Fantastic Four movie, which means they could potentially be introduced in the next Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. So this theory about the Fantastic Four ties very nicely into the current MCU. So that is theory number 1. On to theory number 2. Theory number 2 comes from Comic Fan Productions, and they have a theory about how Steve Rogers and Tony Stark could return to the MCU. Comic Fan Productions' theories on how Steve Rogers and Tony Stark will return are based off of comic arcs. They say that Steve Rogers will return to the MCU in the following way. When you read the Secret Empire storyline, Old Man Cap grabs the Infinity Cube/Tesseract and it gives him the desire of his heart. And what if when Captain America returns the Space Stone/the Tesseract, it sees the desires of his heart? And then in the future, when he's Old Man Cap, it ends up turning him back to a young Captain America. And then how to bring back Tony Stark. There is an old comic book arc where Tony Stark dies and the Avengers go back in time and bring back young Tony into the Marvel canon. This could easily be done now in the MCU since time travel is possible. This theory is certainly a good way to bring back both Steve Rogers and Tony Stark, especially with time travel now being involved and a multiverse as well. Although I do think that Tony Stark is going to remain dead, it is possible if at any point in time they wanted to bring him back, they could through time travel. So that is theory number 2. On to number 3. Theory 3 comes from user Blackout Studios, and Blackout has a theory about Mysterio in Spider-Man Far From Home and the multiverse. Blackout Studios says that there was a lot the Avengers changed when they went back in time, not just taking the Infinity Stones, but taking Mjolnir, Pym particles, Loki escaping, and so on. There were several different events that were altered which caused many different alternate universes to form, and Blackout Studios' theory is about how the multiverse formed in Spider-Man Far From Home. The theory states that maybe Mysterio was created because the Ancient One chose him over Doctor Strange because of Professor Hulk's explanation, making him the master of the mystic arts and not actually illusions like he is in the comics. The fire elemental could be Eldrick Killian from Iron Man 3. This could happen because Stark was hunting Loki because he took the Tesseract and the Extremis transformed him into it. The water monster could be the working of Namor because Infinity War or Endgame never happened in this different universe. That means Wakanda actually handled the underwater earthquakes that were mentioned in Avengers Endgame, which means they probably fought Atlantis. The rock monster could be the doing of Loki. He got the space stone so he can go to the ice giants and make them invade Earth. He infused rocks with the giants to make them stronger, and since the snap tore a hole in the timeline, maybe all of these beings were plucked out of their timelines and transported to the main timeline. This is certainly an interesting theory, but the really cool thing is that since the snap created a multiverse, anything is really possible now. A lot of people think that Mysterio is somehow trained in the mystic arts, and in an alternate universe it is definitely possible. His powers are very similar to Doctor Strange's, and Loki would probably still want to invade Earth. He just tried and failed, and that would probably make Loki pretty upset. And Loki is definitely one to seek vengeance, so it wouldn't be that surprising if he went and got some of his people to attack Earth. So that is theory number 3, on to number 4. Theory number 4 comes from Kevin Pugh, and he proposes the theory that maybe Old Man Captain at the end of Avengers Endgame isn't the real Captain America. Kevin says that, what if Old Man Captain at the end of Endgame wasn't really him? What if he was a Skrull? That conversation between Captain America and Falcon sets up a new Captain America, but maybe that was all according to plan. So much could have gone wrong in Captain's attempt to return the stones. What if he got all but one replaced, the Power Stone? Perhaps he left the Power Stone as the last one to return, and when he went to return it got ambushed by the Skrulls. And what if when they ambushed him, they overpowered him, took him captive, and took the Power Stone? Then one Skrull took the form of Captain America, took a fake shield, and went to the present time. Many people have noticed that the shield that Old Man Cap gives the Falcon at the end of Endgame looks a little bit different, maybe because it's not really made of vibranium, it's a fake. Fake Captain America could open the door to the eventual secret invasion down the line. And this way, if they want to bring Chris Evans back as Captain America, they have an explanation for why he's so young and where he's been. This is a good theory because it's definitely plausible. This could definitely happen in the MCU. And who's to say that Captain America returned all of the stones perfectly without any problem whatsoever? There were a few complications the first time they went back in time. So who's to say that Captain America got it right the first time he went back to return the stones? And this is also a great way to set up Secret Invasion, especially with Captain Marvel introducing the Skrull. So that is theory number 4, on to the final theory number 5. Theory number 5 comes from Ricky Rodriguez, and he says that new cosmic villains will now come out from hiding and rage chaos throughout the universe. Ricky says that there were 3 cosmic forces keeping the universe in order, that being Odin and the Asgardians, Thanos and the Black Order, and the Nova Corps of Xandar. These forces were feared throughout the universe and kept a lot of dark forces and villains from rising up and gaining power. And although Thanos and his army were a darker force, he still kept order throughout the universe in his own way, which is more twisted and cold than the Asgardians and the Nova Corps. Now, all 3 forces are gone from the events of Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame. And now the Dark Forces will find out news that Thanos, Odin, and the Nova Corps are gone and see this as an opportunity to come out from the shadows and either rage chaos, fear, and destruction. Villains like Nihilus, Galactus, the Brood, and the MCU's version of the Symbiotes, etc., are just some of the villains that will pop up and could be possible villains for the future of the MCU. That will be what Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 story will be centered around, the Guardians trying to bring order to the universe and fill in the position of Nova Corps and Odin. This is a really good theory, and it makes a lot of sense because the Nova Corps, Odin and the Asgardians, and Thanos in his own weird way did keep order in the universe. And they were all feared. But now they're gone, and there's not a lot to stop very powerful dark forces from coming and invading the universe. And we already know that Marvel was going to put the Living Tribunal, a cosmic entity, in Avengers Endgame, so they could be thinking about bringing the cosmic entities in. And now Disney and Marvel finally have the rights to use Galactus and the Silver Surfer in the MCU, so perhaps now that Thanos is gone, Galactus will come. So that does it for this week's theories for Theory Thursday. Let's do a quick recap. Theory number 1 is that the Fantastic Four will be introduced in the quantum realm and in the next Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. Theory number 2 is a theory about how Steve Rogers and Tony Stark can return to the MCU. Theory number 3 is that in an alternate universe, Mysterio was picked by the Ancient One over Doctor Strange because of what Professor Hulk told her, and each elemental comes from a different universe. Theory number 4 is that Old Man Captain at the end of Endgame is actually a Skrull, which will eventually set up Secret Invasion. And theory number 5 is that with Odin and the Asgardians, Thanos and the Black Order, and the Nova Corps gone, the dark forces and cosmic villains of the universe will come out from hiding and rage chaos throughout the universe. So that is it for this week's theories. Be sure to vote on which one you think is your favorite. And again, if you would like to submit a theory of your own for a chance to end up in an episode of Theory Thursdays, you can find the email to send it to and the instructions in the description down below. Be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date on episodes of Theory Thursdays and so you can stay up to date on everything relating to Marvel. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next Thursday. Woof woof.